This is the last and final time that I'm gonna make any videos related to Charlie Kirk or the events that happened 12 days ago. I didn't want to make another one. I didn't even care to make a second one, but a lot of things keep happening and it's really irritating, and I figured that with all the celebration going on from the MAGA Republican side, where they're throwing parties and sprinklers and all these kind of sort of festivities going on in order to celebrate and honor Charlie Kirk, I also thought maybe this would be an appropriate time to also as well honor Charlie Kirk's memory and give our own type of like memoriam dedicated to him as well. I'll start off with the video from Adosa Buckley because he words everything very well when he makes his content. I do not support or endorse or cheer on political violence of any kind. I also agree with that sentiment, and this isn't going to be that. My last two videos have not been that. I agree to also not celebrate this type of heinous crime and delusional sort of killings. Overall, I believe this just made everything worse for everyone else all over the planet. And I'll explain why and go a little bit more in depth into that. And again, the only reason I'm making a follow-up for the other two videos is because I want to be able to make a in memoriam type of honorable video dedicated to Charlie Kirk and his beliefs and what he stood up for, and not try to profit off of it. Again, monetization has been disabled. However, I am debating on enabling the monetization, not because I need the money and because it clicks for views or anything like that. I don't fucking make that much money and don't give a shit about the channel that much. And I believe in not profiting off of someone's death and a tragedy that just recently happened. Again, my condolences to the family, especially the children growing up without their father. My condolences to everyone that ever cared about this man. Whether he deserves it, again, my personal belief is no, I do not believe he deserves it. And the same thing goes with my beliefs about the American flag, about vandalizing it, writing on it, putting faces on it, discoloring it to fit different agendas and whatnot. But I have never seen a memoriam nor promotions for someone's passing more than this event that was held. Why the fuck are there sparklers at a fucking memoriam? I see that they've gotten ready with the bulletproof glass. Also, I've seen other images showing the stadium size and being filled. And I gotta say, this looks like a lot more people than have ever went to any of Trump's inaugurations or parades or events that he's ever hosted. Trump's turnout sizes are always very small, but he loves to exaggerate the numbers. This is a pretty big following, a pretty big crowd. For a man that's not even a politician. It's insane how performative this is. Also, how did they set this up? Like, what was the revenue and the booking time? Like, it's been a week, right? Like, immediately after he passes, they're like, let's promote him as one of the biggest political influencers of all time. Let's memorialize him in any sort of way possible. Let's use his death and weaponize it against the American people. We've had previous presidents give their condolences and write letters expressing that this sort of violence is degrading and it's immoral, and, you know, this is not the way to handle things. You know, we've had many people express their sorrow for the family and whatnot. And again, with other videos of Donald Trump.
My fellow Americans.
To my great fellow Americans.
A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing.
I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah.
While we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors, we're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together.
For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today.
So in the words of Charlie Kirk, the cause and effect, the fact that the cause was that Charlie Kirk is always spewing hate speech, which is protected under free speech. However, there is no freedom of consequence. You're talking about the way that he spoke to other people and the way that he lived his values to degrade a heavy population of our neighbors. It's not warranted of retaliation in being shot to death.
Whether it's with members of Congress of both parties being targeted and shot, or a violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th, or brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, or information and intimidation on election officials, or the kidnapping plot against the sitting governor, or an attempted assassination on Donald Trump.
From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence, for any violence, ever. Period. No exception.
Radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives.
We can't allow this violence to be normalized. You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that.
My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it.
It's amazing how one person is trying to denounce all violence. Oh, you know what? Actually, someone said it right here. In my own words, it's interesting how we have one person trying to denounce all violence and have a more unison country that political violence needs to stop. Everyone has differences and has different beliefs and views and all that, and that's fine. That's what our country is made of. Like, again, it's protected under freedom of speech. That's perfectly fine, but, you know, when you're inciting violence and when you're committing crimes and you're killing people, that's crossing the line. We have one person that's not blaming any sides. We're just blaming bad people in general and trying to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And then you got jackass pussy neck over here trying to just tell everyone that this is the radical left, their groups and all these heinous actions, and I'm going to start cracking down more on whatever the fuck. I'm going to like this comment because it is accurate. I'm not familiar with this one. Apparently, Trump's video is AI, and someone's trying to say that they're most likely processing 2 different takes to kind of lessen the shakiness of his hands, because we did see that they were bruised, and also apparently he had some sort of stroke, I guess. I don't know how much of any of this is true, but this was an announcement that was given to the people, the public people.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination.
Okay, This is from the official White House.
Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the... Charlie was a patriot. Charlie was a patriot. Charlie was a patriot. Charlie was a patriot.
Oh yeah, take a look at his hands.
Charlie was a patriot.
Huh. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, he loses a pinky there. They actually, like, AI generated this response? That's actually insane. Holy shit, no kidding. The comments were turned off too. Interesting. I guess they didn't want people to point it out. Also, on the day of, September 10th, 2025, they actually, like, on the day of, were able to make that video generated quickly. Anyway, the point is, so it is AI generated, but it was officially posted by the people of the White House. So in this case, it is his word and exactly what he's trying to put out into the world. So even though it's AI generated, it's officially made and published and approved by Donald J. Trump to have it on the White House official website. Anyway, the point is not on Donald Trump. This is about Charlie Kirk, in memoriam to him and trying to honor his legacy. But what I'm trying to say is that everything's been weaponized immediately after his passing. And we had one person who tried to unite the country and try to ask us to all kind of calm down and to see that there's always going to be divisions and lines drawn. But to overcross and overstep those boundaries is not anything that people should be doing, that this is something to condemn that violence. Meanwhile, we have jackass Orange in Chief over here that's trying to use this to escalate the situation. He's wanting to incite a civil war. Who knows, maybe to detract from the Epstein files or whatnot, but he's purposely drawing thicker lines and making sure that people are pushing each other and shoving to have them tip over the line. He's purposely spreading hate and fear into people so that people get all up in arms and start screaming at each other.
That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent.
I can't express how extremely performative this kind of behavior is. If this is her way of grieving, then maybe I'm just not understanding it, because to me this feels very exaggerated, honestly. And I'm not trying to be mean. Again, people grieve differently, and maybe this is what works for her. But it's very odd, the fact that your husband died, the person you love has passed, and you decide to take like photo shoot images to kind of post online for either social media attention, or whether this is to just get more publicity, to get people to grieve and sympathize with you and whatnot. But I would not go to a funeral of someone that I love and then ask if someone can take pictures and then post them on my Instagram to make sure that everyone knows that I'm grieving. This would be something that I would do personally in private with my family. I would not post my loved ones in a state online like this. To me, this is just disgusting and weird. But anyway, this is how they celebrated his passing. They held a whole event. They had fireworks and sparklers. I saw someone post on Twitter that Charlie Kirk's memorial has more people in attendance than Martin Luther King Jr. or John F. Kennedy's funeral. This got fact-checked quickly. Up to 1 million people lined up the streets of Washington, D.C. for President John F. Kennedy's public funeral, which was a big spectacle. You can see like old-timey videos and images of like the streets being fucking filled with people. Glendale police estimated 200,000 in attendance for Charlie Kirk, and attendees have rumored 300,000, still below JFK's 1 million. On November 24th, 1963, hundreds of thousands of people filed past Kennedy's coffin in the rotunda of the Capitol. Kennedy was buried the next day in a state funeral at Arlington Cemetery. Representatives from 42 nations attended the service, and an estimated 1 million people lined the streets of Washington, D.C. to observe the funeral processions. This is the thing I hate about misinformation, is that it gets spread so quickly, because it takes one person to say something incredibly stupid and false, but then you have people believing in it, bookmarking it, and then talking about how, wow, this was one of the biggest people in all of like our conversation of our time. This is the biggest guy ever, when it's not. It's absolutely not. Not to rain on his actual literal parade that's going on, his memorial service, but it's just downright disrespectful and over exaggerating and just straight up lying about the numbers and attendees. It's unnecessary, honestly. And then point number 2 is that this again goes with history revisionism, is that people want to over exaggerate and post fake information on the internet because it takes longer to correct that information than people seeing it the first time and then immediately believing it. I highly recommend watching Adosa Buckley's Charlie Kirk video. It's not that long. Mine is probably going to be even longer. Hopefully I can edit this shit down a little bit. He talks very well and very formally about the sides of Charlie Kirk and his beliefs, and I think honestly this is a really great video, describing more and going in depth about his controversial opinions and what he says, and just not fully sure on what he truly believed in based on all the offensive rhetorics that he's been pushing into the atmosphere for everyone to see and listen to constantly.
And this is why I don't like any of these debate me bros. Not a single one of them are interested in having a conversation. They'll tell you that's what they're there for, but they aren't. Not any of them.
He makes very good points here, that a lot of these debate me bros really like to just scream over each other and just wait for that kind of like gotcha moment so that they can kind of throw that one big fact in your face and just have like a whole checkmate.
Looking for that opening, that mistake to take advantage of. They don't want to have a discussion. Charlie in particular, again, I would argue that he was intentionally picking soft opponents. Going to college campuses and on that fecal scrapings of a Jubilee show to argue with a bunch of students, guaranteed he'd always look good.
Yeah, so he would go against the college students, people that are younger and that don't have all the full exposure, all the full information that he may be studying into in the background, just to make himself look good, take those clips out of context, or even keep the full context and just show that some of these people don't fully know what's going on in the world.
Hey fascist, catch, and Bella Ciao. Left-wing political messages. At first, oh man, Twitter was so pissed. A white kid from Utah who grew up with a conservative family, went to church, wore a costume where he's riding Donald Trump for Halloween one year? How could he? But then they found out he was possibly dating a trans woman, so, oh, thank God he wasn't really one of us. They were so relieved.
I also found that very interesting because he inscribed the words Bella Ciao onto the bullets, and he said that he didn't even really know what it meant.
And 3 down arrow symbols. That appears to be a reference to a sequence of controller moves for firing bombs in the video game Helldivers 2.
I'm still kind of confused why he would edge that one in. I think he was mostly just trying to make memes, which is kind of fucking cringe. The hey fascist catch, that one was clever, that one's fine, but not that I'm condoning any of this. I don't support any of that. I'm not saying to do so. show at all. Again, I'm 100% against all this shit. I'm just not understanding why he also had to be a cringe me bro. Yeah, that was for the anti-fascist resistance during World War II, but I'm pretty sure there was another article or conversation where they were having with Tyler Robinson, and he was saying that he didn't even know the song. He wasn't even trying to reference the song. He etched it in there for some other purpose. I don't remember what he said. I tried looking for it. I couldn't find it. I'm pretty sure there's a video or article out there where they actually interviewed Tyler Robinson, and he said that it wasn't to reference the song. He had his own reasoning for it, but I can't find it.
Jimmy Kimmel's show was preempted indefinitely because of comments he made. Mostly it seems for reporting shit before they had all the facts, claiming that the shooter was MAGA. This is why I don't do videos before all the facts are out. But anyway, as you know, lying on TV isn't allowed, which is why there are no more 24-hour news networks.
Yeah, except when it comes to Fox News, the FCC is like, yeah, no, that's fine. You can spew stupid shit, misinformation, tell people all this crap that doesn't actually have any sort of like scientific backing or political backing.
You got people creating AI images of Charlie Kirk consoling the dead Ukrainian woman on the subway. Come the fuck on.
Yeah, that's fucking delusional and disgusting. The fact that someone would not only take the time to AI generate this, but then have to put like some sort of heartfelt message saying perfect, all these emojis, and then seeing this, it was viewed 10 million times. Like this is fucking sickening and degrading, and this is what we're really going to be using AI generated tools for, is to spew more hateful, stupid misinformation, and also trying to make some type of like sympathy art, political sympathy art for someone that would never fucking do this to begin with. An actual fucking parade memorial service was dedicated to him, and now giving him more of a voice, and just overall now his death is being weaponized to market their campaign even further and just spew more stupid shit.
I probably heard about Chuck once a month before this, and a lot of people I talked to had never even heard of him at all. Now, I've spent the last week and a half looking at his fucking tooth-to-gum ratio on the internet as everyone makes him a martyr. He was absolutely better off alive. He was just a mouthpiece owning the libs, arguing with piss-pants know-nothing college kids. He had no real power. Now, he's got the goddamn vice president hauling his body off and guest hosting his podcast, completely unprecedented. Alive, he was a goofy fuck with a relatively small following. Dead, he's a symbol. Conservatives are comparing him to MLK and want to make a holiday in his honor.
Which is what I was talking about earlier, about the whole funeral size, how they're saying that it's now bigger than MLK and John F. Kennedy when they got assassinated. And again, that was misinformation. That's stupid. And now they're trying to honor him and do the same for him when it's not something that's deserved and it's not anything special. Like, nothing about this needed to be taken to this extreme level other than that they had the marketing campaign and materials to be able to promote this to something on a national level. And it's fucking embarrassing. It really is. Oh, hey, look, it's Laura Loomer. Okay, this one I disagree with. AJK. When you tell emotionally unstable, social approval dependent, weak-minded masses into whom you have seeded chronic victim complexes that their political opponent are literally Nazis, you're running the risk of a few of them might taking that seriously and act. Brother, literally anything you do or say these days, anyone's gonna act on it. It's the same thing that, like, Jack Doherty does with his fucking sports vehicle where he drives it dangerously on the freeway, and then one day he hydroplanes it, gets into a crash, and he wants to act like the fucking victim. Other kids are gonna see that and be like, wow, he's such a good driver, I should do that too. If we're talking about freedom of speech here and how hate speech is actually protected under the First Amendment, we're allowed to say that this person is a fascist, that their ideology and what they believe in is fascism. That is allowed. No one is saying go and kill the fascist. That is not what is happening. Those are two completely different statements here, so I completely disagree with this one. For instance, I hate mayonnaise. I don't like it, but I'm not gonna go to the fucking factory and start blowing shit up by throwing pipe bombs and driving my Tesla through the building until it fucking explodes. Those are two different things. I'm allowed to hate something, in this case Nazis, but I'm not over here grabbing my American Second Amendment protected gun and going to Charlottesville and starting shooting up all the fucking homes. You don't do that, you stupid dumb fuck. You're allowed to hate something, but if you act on it, that's your own fucking fault.
We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
Okay, but like, Hitler also said, the people would have to atone for their sins with their blood because they are poisoning the world. Trump never said anything that dark.
Oh, really? What's this then, big dog?
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done.
All right, hold up! Hitler said his enemies weren't even human. They were animals. You're not about to tell me...
Oh, I'm about to.
I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals. I'll use the word animal, because that's what they are.
And let me guess you gonna say he meant MS-13? But the man never clarified. Just threw the word out there like a frisbee.
Okay, but Hitler was wild with the race stuff. Like, you'll lose your whole culture if you mix Aryan blood with inferior peoples. That's not Trump vibes.
That's not Trump vibes? Let's ask Trump what his vibes are then.
You got to get these people back where they came from. You have no choice. You're going to lose your culture. You're going to lose your country.
Okay, that's wild. But Hitler believed evil was genetic. He said a people can't change unless their DNA changes.
Isn't it convenient that out of all his speeches, MAGA somehow never remembers that one?
Does anybody believe in genes? You guys believe in genetics?
A murderer, I believe this. It's in their genes. And we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now.
Bro, I might need to reevaluate my whole political stance.
Yeah. Might want to start with history class and a hard reset on that algorithm, champ.
Anyway, Laura Loomer, you're a wonderful woman. Not being extreme or stupid and dumb as fuck as it is. But anyway, Obama had made this post where he was saying, we don't know what motivated the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, but this kind of despicable violence has no place in our democracy. Michelle and I have been praying for Charlie's family tonight, especially with his wife Erica and their 2 young children, which is a very nice, short and sweet, simple statement that did not need to... What the fuck is this? Oh, I guess that's an ex-president badge now? Whatever. Sorry, I got distracted. He's trying to make peace and trying to do something kind and simple, and then you have other people in the comments, especially Laura Loomer, again, making these stupid, insensitive comments that are just hateful, and then pointing the blame at other people, which is what Donald Trump fucking did in his speech, his AI-generated speech. This one I can sort of agree with. Bombing 80,000 children and millions of other innocent people is okay, but we draw the line at shooting a fascist. I'm not condoning the shooting of the fascist part. However, I am understanding the comparison of actual bombings of other countries, which now Trump has also made a 180-degree turn, talking about how now he's a wartime president and changing the Department of Defense to the Department of War again, just how it was back in the 1940s or whatever the fuck it was. We went from the leading country of our world to protect everyone to now we're going back to being another intimidating ass dictatorship of a fucking country. We're pushing more fear and aggression and anger into the world instead of trying to make peace. This is a valid point. I'm not disregarding it, but I'm saying he's trying to be respectful and just show condolences. Just something simple, which is what we need. It is mature and respectful to show condolences, and I agree with the statement. Everyone has their own things going on, but at this time is where we need to give our condolences and respects to the family because it had just happened. It's always going to be something at the immediate moment that something happens that there's going to be anger and people screaming and crying and pissing and shitting themselves.
This is such bullshit. I've never been so pissed in my whole life. And this murder Charlie Kirk right here in Utah. I'm so freaking pissed right now. This is bullshit. I just saw blood squirting out of his neck. I love that guy. He would have been our next president. I am so pissed right now. Why do they always come with fucking violence? Gosh, damn it. Use your freaking words. Use their tongue in you people.
I agree with this comment as well, that Charlie Kirk's video is actually so fucking awful and disgusting no matter how much you dislike the guy. Prayers to him and his family. Again, I've talked about this many times. But I also agree with this, that the images of kids blown to pieces in Gaza and he cheered them on. I can understand why there's not going to be any sympathy for Charlie Kirk because of the things he's said and the things that he's done in the past. But again, I don't agree with it, and I'm not condoning this. This was something that he also said, was that he couldn't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term, and it does a lot of damage.
I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but...
So it's hard to, like, try to be good people in the world when some people just won't accept it, even if they were alive for it. A lot of these comments, again, I had to agree with. No, the left didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Some deranged murderer did. If we don't recognize that, we are no better than our worst political opponents. I completely 100% agree with this statement, and this is what I'm trying to preach. This is a difficult video to work on because of the whole cancel culture thing. Oh, fuck, this video is so long. But yet Charlie Kirk can say these kind of things where they feel downright giddy and it's a dream come true for his show. People were also quick to point out the whole thing with Paul Pelosi almost being beat to death with a hammer, and they cheered on when the Minnesota lawmakers were killed. The entire right wing is going to lose their absolute minds over the assassinated Charlie Kirk, but just remember how none of them gave a damn about Melissa Hortman and the Democratic lawmaker in Minnesota being assassinated just a couple months ago. They basically ignored it. His son, Donald Trump Jr., literally his kid, also had put on a meme talking about got my Paul Pelosi Halloween costume ready.
And we'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know?
Yeah, and they fucking laughed and cheered him on, and he's just an insensitive asshole. Literally, he'll say one thing and do the complete opposite. He's proved this many, many, many fucking times. And again, that goes hand in hand with fucking Charlie Kirk talking about George Floyd, calling him a scumbag and whatnot, and constantly harassing him and his family, even after his passing, with many insensitive, hurtful tweets and comments.
My condolences to you, sir. My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is...
Bro, your friend got shot in the neck. He's dead.
That's crazy. Check it out. I'm doing addition on the house. Pretty good.
Even though he's parading this entire event, he absolutely gave zero shits when it came to the question of how are you holding up with the passing of Charlie Kirk, and just immediately went to the, hey, look over there, you see the trucks? We're building a ballroom which hasn't been touched on or renovated in about 150 years. Like, he got excited over something else completely. This has nothing to do with the current situation, but remember the times that Trump always called Joe Biden Sleepy Joe?
Mohammed bin Salman is saying we need a resolution on a Palestinian state. And I don't necessarily recall several years ago.
Mr. President, come on, you can't fall asleep there. This isn't an intelligence briefing. Come on, man. Look, it's not actually a big deal for the president to have jet lag. I'm not so much of an asshole that I make fun of someone for nodding off a bit on a trip. But you know who is that much of an asshole?
The guy can fall asleep instantly with the press watching. Who the hell wants to sleep with these people watching? And he's out cold. You see the dribble coming down the side of his chin.
Well. Look who's sleeping now.
Anyone not singing Charlie Kirk's praises is not going to have a good time. Right? And all of this is connected to Kimmel's show on Monday night, where in his monologue he said,
we hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction.
Right, immediately you had right-wing influencers and activists slamming Kimmel in general, but especially for his words about MAGA trying to cast Kirk's killer as, quote, anything other than one of them in order to score political points. And you had many of them basically accusing Kimmel of just flat out lying. We're saying that Kimmel was essentially saying that the killer was actually MAGA. But at the same time, you had people defending Kimmel saying he wasn't saying that the killer was MAGA, but rather that MAGA was more focused on trying to point blame.
That is a factual statement, so that's not even a thing of opinion. He wasn't even trying to disrespect anyone. He was just pointing out a fact that when I was also on Twitter that day, and even the day after, I had also pointed out that a lot of people were pointing that this had something to do with gay people and transgendered people, that he was just a leftist, because why would a Republican kill another Republican? The person that was attacking Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark Hortman was a Trump supporter. The man charged with an attempted assassination of Pennsylvania Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro was a Trump supporter. The attempted assassination on Trump's life himself was a Trump supporter. He was a registered Republican, you know, the one that grazed his ear. Trump seemed to have recovered perfectly fine from a bullet and or debris reaching his ear with no damages or any sort of loss of ear, like chunk of skin or anything like that. So there's a whole conspiracy theory with that, but either way, what Jimmy Kimmel said was factual, that a lot of people were immediately finger pointing, and especially if it was from the left or the right. You know, he was a white kid in Utah who grew up with a conservative family. People weren't saying he was a registered Republican. People were saying that he grew up with a white family. And at the time, people were freaking out, and I did see a lot of comments of people screaming and crying that, you know, he was a Democratic transgendered man or whatever, that it was not one of their people. This is just factual. This isn't trying to place the blame on anyone. This was an actual argument that has happened on the internet for days.
Overnight, ABC pulling late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel off the air, hours after a threat from the head of the Federal Communications Commission. Brendan Carr called for Kimmel's suspension over comments earlier this week on Jimmy Kimmel Live. ABC pulling the plug, a spokesperson for the network saying Jimmy Kimmel Live will be preempted indefinitely. President Trump weighing in, calling the decision great news for America.
I was honestly inclined to wait to engage with the back and forth over who Charlie Kirk was and what his legacy will be, at least in part because we're taping this on Saturday. His funeral hasn't even taken place yet. What I will say is, a person getting shot is tragic, and a person getting shot for their ideas is horrifying. That is true no matter what those ideas are, and I also recognise it does seem like some are now willing to weaponise Kirk's death to do things they've been wanting to do for years, whether it's going after liberal groups, trans people, or their remaining critics in the media, and under some shamelessly flimsy pretext, all of which brings us back to Jimmy Kimmel.
Exactly. This is something that has already been happening since the shooting of Charlie Kirk, is that everyone's trying to weaponize the situation and trying to blame one group over the other. And again, even from Twitter, I had pointed out some of the comments about the transgendered blame. I was like, what? This happened like 2 hours ago. How are people already trying to blame the transgender community, that this person was part of the leftist group or whatever, some shit? None of the facts have even came out yet. Not the funeral hasn't even happened. It has in my time, yes, but at the recording of, you know, John Oliver's video, it had not happened yet. It was the day before. And I'll also return back to the memorial service in a minute as well, because of the speeches that were given, talking about how we need to call for peace upon people, but then also we need to eliminate the evil, the darkness that fights the light. We will be the light, says God, and all this religious shit that they throw into the memorial service for Charlie Kirk, to then further incite more division and more violence. But like I said, I'll get to that later.
Because look, it is not news that the administration's been wanting to get rid of shows like his. In fact, it's such an open secret that the pretext that's been used to indefinitely suspend Kimmel's show is just laughably weak. Because while you may have seen headlines saying he got in trouble for remarks about Charlie Kirk himself or even remarks about his death, that's not strictly accurate. The comments that got him in trouble weren't about Kirk. In fact, Kimmel's first comments after his murder were a post reading, "Can we just for one day agree that it is horrible and monstrous to shoot another human? On behalf of my family, we send love to the Kirks and to all the children, parents and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence."
I mean, yeah, that's what a lot of people were doing. And again, I have the screenshots. I've shown that people were expressing condolences. Meanwhile, there are people that are angry with the comments that Charlie Kirk has posted publicly and has said in many of his videos and podcasts, and once again arguing with college students because he wanted to have the high ground, Anakin, and try to inflate his ego and make himself look good with his debaters. As I say debaters, I'm remembering South Park, where they made a joke that he was master debating.
If anyone around here is going to be a master debater, it's me. So let's go. Who wants to debate the master debater? Let's go. You right there.
Watch as Eric Cartman shuts down these woke liberal students.
Oh my God, what makes you think you have the right to say what I do with my body?
Let me ask you something. If a pregnant woman is killed and the baby dies too, why is the killer charged with a double homicide?
Well, because people have different beliefs. And
it's not about belief, it's about truth. Science confirms life begins at conception.
Eric, are you all right in there?
Yeah, I'm fine, Mom. I'm just in here master debating.
Well, Eric, that's enough. Let's get out of the bathroom.
I can't, Mom. I'm master debating to these young college girls.
That's very naughty, Eric. Stop it.
I want to understand, though, maybe you can help me understand, why the women of America are so enthusiastic about the right to be able to kill preborn babies. What is help me understand.
So he says I want to understand, maybe you can help me understand. He poses this as if it's a genuine ask and he means it, when really he doesn't mean it at all. His stance is already made up. He's already opposed to abortion because the baby should have to say if it should live or if it should die. And to decide that for the baby, he claims that as narcissism, which then induces this panic of, I don't want to be called that word, so I have to make up a quick excuse to then deflect off of that statement. So then they immediately start panicking to then try to argue about the narcissism rather than the abortion. Which is the exact same fear that a lot of white people have when being called racist, is that they try to do and say anything and everything that they can to not be called a racist, including the classic, well, I have a black friend.
So you know what white people hate? Being called racist.
Yes. White people flip out.
They hate it
when you call them a racist. It's like, I am not a racist. Racist is the N-word for white people.
Yes, it is.
Apparently not anymore. People wear that with pride, like a badge of honor these days. Oh, how far we've regressed. Step 1 was the distraction, right? He then asks, why are women so enthusiastic about the right to kill preborn babies? Again, the wording sounds horrible, and it gives more of an impact on how he's trying to manipulate the situation. To be enthusiastic about killing a baby is not the argument that she's posing or anyone else that's about their body and their choice. However, because that's what's being thrown at his opponent, especially to the young girl, he knows that she can't fight that accusation now, especially being the narcissism comment on top of that. This is exactly what South Park means when they call him the master debater, because he's already locked and loaded with these subliminal messages to the viewers of the video that she's immediately in the wrong for having these alleged desires towards being enthusiastic about killing a baby. Again, he asked this question pretending that he's interested to know her argument, but really he doesn't give a shit. He's entrapped her. He pushed her to this corner immediately right off the bat. This is a common move and a common strategy, especially to the young college kids who aren't prepared for this type of entrapment tactic. It's kind of like playing chess. He's already cornered the queen.
It's more of just the ability to be able to do what you feel is necessary
Bingo.
for your body.
I think that's right. It's narcissism. I think you're totally right. It is weaponized medical narcissism.
He then shows his hand. He forcibly agrees with her by, again, twisting her words that this is narcissism. He's agreeing to his own idea and not hers, that women are narcissistic to control the body of someone else inside of their host body, sounding like women are just a case for the iPhone. I think you're totally right. After cutting her off, and not only stuns her and pisses her off, but again is pushing his aha, gotcha moment. Narcissism is the excessive interest or admiration of oneself and one's physical appearance. It is a selfishness involving a sense of entitlement and a lack of empathy and a need to be admired. In this case, though, he's forcibly twisting the definition of narcissism to fit his agenda. This is arguably not narcissism, to just protect yourself from something that you didn't want, or what the baby in the future would not have wanted, because they can also grow up with regrets, pain, and emotional distress. In the cases of rape and incest, to carry the child of your rapist and to be forced to give birth to an entire human being just so that human can suffer later in life, it's something that people would want to avoid. To deprive their child of happiness and a normal life, that's not something most people would want. A lot of people today have suffered in life and have considered suicide, and some people have actually taken their own lives because of the situations that they've been put in by their parents, by people who aren't educated enough or willing enough or supportive enough for that child. So for Charlie Kirk to say that every human baby should be born but not taken care of for the rest of their life, not given some sort of support, it's an insane stance. Kirk has also stated, well, just give the child up for adoption then. why are you so enthusiastic about murder? Which then he's pro-life but not pro-support. We don't have free health insurance, and for the child who needs the support with parents that are unable to afford therapy or medications or even believe in mental health to begin with, to not give them some sort of Medicaid support, some sort of health insurance or counselors, it's insane. You're not providing the resources. We have had our funding cut for Medicaid recently, and millions of Americans who desperately needed it are now not gonna have it. So why would you be pro-life and yet not pro-support for people who actually need this stuff to survive? As kids suffer mentally, emotionally, and physically through self-harm or other people bullying them in the outside space who harass the child constantly as they grow up without parents or family, to force someone being born and then never giving that child support for their entire lives, it's also selfish and degrading. But of course, she's stunned and she has no counter argument to his point and is trying to comprehend his tactics that he just threw at her, not even giving her a chance to recover or process the statement that he had said.
I'm in charge of the world. Screw.
No, I'm in charge of my body. Not in charge of the world,
got it.
but of my body.
Makes sense. So even though it's not your body and it's a different body in you, I'm the most important thing in the world. And that makes sense because you just connected the dots. We have the most narcissistic female generation in history, and abortion is the culmination in that. Thank you for connecting the dots.
To add insult to injury, after cutting her off, twisting her words, manipulating the audience, accused her of enthusiasm towards harming another person's life, the accusation of narcissism in robbing someone's life from them, the fake thank you for her helping him connect the dots, is not only putting a lime on a cut, but adding salt to degrading her as she feels like she had no voice to begin with, as you wouldn't even let her speak to begin with or listen to her. Then you have stupid, ignorant dumbasses clapping in the background, not seeing this as a direct attack on her stance. It was manipulative. Sure, they probably admire his craft of lying, inciting hate speech, and appreciated his tactical ability to throw off his opponent. They probably see that as being totally cool because he destroyed that woman and her narcissistic ways. But that's exactly the dumbass audience that he's catering to. Trump does this as well. They don't care about the debate, but rather shutting someone down for voicing their concerns for their health and ability to have control over their own body and choices by outside forces. And this is the exact same audience too that didn't believe in the vaccine. They were completely against it because they didn't want to put that in their body, which was a valid concern. However, we had documentations that things were safe and this would prevent the spread of the virus and will protect people who aren't able to take the vaccines. Slightly different case, but genuine concern about foreign forces entering their body. A picture says 1,000 words, and her face says it all here. So many people have had this exact same result because he knew very well how to play this game when he was alive. He had mastered the craft, but for the wrong reasons. To not even be given a chance to breathe is incredibly irritating and does make people upset that they have no voices. They get shut down all the time. This is one of thousands of examples of why people are not having empathy at all for someone who abuses his tactics towards other people while also himself claiming that empathy is a weakness to begin with. Kirk doesn't even truly have empathy for the child being delivered. He only wanted to push his agenda, sprinkling some religion in there, harassing and insulting his opponent, and defending the idea of rape.
Yeah, but a body growing inside a woman's body is not her body. It's a completely separate being.
Eric, what are you doing?
I'm sorry, Mom. You told me to go to sleep, but I started master debating again. Mom, you don't understand. I'm getting really good at this. I have my arguments down rock solid. These young college girls are totally unprepared, so I can just destroy them and also edit out all the ones that actually argue back well. It just feels so good.
I was actually really sad when South Park decided to pull this episode because it was an actually well-written episode and very well delivered and hit on the points exactly where it needed to be hit. But because of censorship and, you know, the United States government under President Trump and the FCC Brandon Carr was threatening people like Jimmy Kimmel with, you know, pulling their shows and all that from ABCs and, you know, threatening the whole kind of merger groups that, you know, they were planning and were to be had. But either way, the fact that it's back is awesome. A lot of people were nervous, especially when you're going against the government, especially with Donald Trump throwing his little bitch baby tantrums, and the Republicans in between who were against cancel culture, but then started making a whole list to then contact employers directly to get their employees fired. So much for freedom of speech. Also, that's borderline stalking and harassment. Bring back free speech, make America funny again, bring back comedy is so apparently not funny anymore, not comedy no more. When they get their feelings hurt, then they're pro cancel culture, I see. Either way, I digress. The comments that Cartman says, these young college girls are totally unprepared, so I can just destroy them and also edit out all the ones that argue back really well, was phenomenal. A+ comment, I really love that. I do think, though, that comment was a little bit missed over by some people. I think that explains the episode and the personality of Charlie Kirk very well through Cartman's persona, because it's accurate and it's what I was talking about the whole time. Not just me, but many other people on the internet have pointed this out if you were able to run into those kind of videos and content and be able to see that people are dissecting what he does and the messages that he's trying to spread out to people, which comes to the conclusion of, you know, misogynistic behavior, racism, egotistical, megalomaniacal jackass, of which he himself fits the definition of narcissism. But I'm just gonna play that clip one more time because it was such a beautiful statement from South Park. It was very accurate and very well written and just describes everything perfectly.
These young college girls are totally unprepared, so I can just destroy them and also edit out all the ones that actually argue back well. Okay, I won't master debate anymore tonight. Look, you can call it reproductive rights, but be honest, if the baby could speak, it would fight for its right to live. And
Eric Cartman!
I'm sorry, ma'am!
No one was calling to violence. No one has made any actions to glorify this, to praise this, and even me making these 3 videos, I have not glorified or praised any of this. This is not being weaponized in any sort of way. This is strictly just giving the facts on what happened. This is not history revisionism. It's just talking, it's just screenshots and videos and evidence and just having a conversation of what has happened. This conversation was happening a lot quicker than I expected it to, but it's already been over a week and hell has broken loose on the online space, especially for Twitter, because people just are rightfully infuriated and disgusted and not wanting to give sympathy to a man who, for one, he said himself he didn't even want it. He said it was a weakness, and, you know, the things he said, it is hate speech, protected under the First Amendment, sadly, but it is hate speech. We have not provided any sort of hate speech to anyone. This is just talking about the facts.
What got Kimmel in trouble was a passing reference on Monday night. Now, at the time, there were still rumours flying around regarding the killer's motivations, including that he was on the far right, something that Kimmel alluded to like this.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Yeah, that was it. And I'm not alone in that. After Kimmel's suspension, many struggled to pick the offensive line out of his monologue, as YouTube is filled with comments under the video like, I'm still waiting for the offensive part. What did he say that got him fired? I'm rewatching the last week of episodes and haven't heard it yet. But he was also pointing out that many on the right seem desperate to weaponize Kirk's death, an argument that's aged pretty well given, you know, everything that's happened to Kimmel since. Because that one line set off a firestorm in some corners of conservative media. And on Wednesday, Brendan Carr, the chair of the FCC, and James Cromwell went on a right-wing podcast and said this.
You know, when you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. Frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Or, you know, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. Push back on Comcast and Disney and say, listen, we are going to preempt. We are not going to run. We licensed broadcaster, are running the possibility of fines or license revocation from the FCC if we continue to run content that ends up being a pattern of news distortion.
And again, Fox News doesn't do this. Any of the right-wing political podcasts and other commentators that distort the news constantly and try to provide misinformation. And it's amazing how delusional and one-sided this is. And again, they're all about bringing free speech back to America, bringing comedy back to America. But then as soon as something happens where it's talking factually that the MAGA gang was jumping to conclusions and trying to twist the situation as much as possible to prevent having this white kid from Utah be one of the MAGA cultist groups, groups, all of a sudden that hurt their feelings, and then they're calling for the pulling of Jimmy Kimmel. Like, just like Donald Trump, every time he says one thing, he does a 180-degree turn on it. When they say they're allowing for free speech and they're allowing for comedy, as soon as you disagree with their views or you make a factual comment, it's not even a comedic joke, it wasn't even something to attack Charlie Kirk or the MAGA people, it was actually something that happened in the online space, and even in podcasts where people were the "oh fuck your feelings" group of people, right? I mean, well, look at here, their feelings are showing so much over something that they just disagree with. We're talking about, at the moment, a shooting that happened because of a political disagreement, and here we are again, another political disagreement. They're taking action on it. This one isn't involving firearms. There has been many other instances of the Republican Party where they have gotten violent and they have killed people. Statistically, you can just look up the amount of shootings and the amount of killings and attempted homicides and whatnot, successful homicides, where it has been right-leaning. These are not accusations, these are not jokes, these are not any comments meant to be disrespectful. It's just a factual conversation that's been had, something that is going on currently.
Yeah, we could do this the easy way or the hard way.
We can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way.
Basically, Brendan Carr said jump, and Nexstar took his dick out of their mouth for just long enough to say, how high exactly? That sure seems like a pretty clear case of the government pressuring companies to censor speech. And it is not like even Trump is trying to hide it, as on Thursday he said this to reporters.
Late night host is on network television. There is a licensing. I'll give you an example. I read someplace that the networks were 97% against me. I got 97% negative. And if they're 97% against, they give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr.
Wow, that is probably not something you should say out loud.
People hate me. 97% of people don't like me, and I think they should take away their licenses because they have a different political opinion and they all talk negatively about me, even though it's just the facts and recorded videos and images of things that I say and or tweet on Truth Social. They should have their licenses taken away. Sorry, it's comical because it's actually like a Disney supervillain. The fuck your feelings crowd is really having their feelings hurt right now, and then they want to pull licensing away. This is literally dictatorship. We've talked about this for years, but this is another great example of it.
But then this is a man who doesn't seem to have an internal monologue. In fact, he ended that press gaggle on the plane saying, "Fly safely." You know why I say that? Because I'm on the flight. Otherwise, I wouldn't care. No message has ever entered his head without being delivered through his lips.
He says, "We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. Nice bar you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it."
Look, let's all agree Ted Cruz is an incredible vocal talent. And he should definitely quit his job right now and go do that instead.
Yeah!
But he was actually on his way.
Let's go, Ted Cruz. I support your voice acting career. Let's do it.
Jimmy Kimmel said, "I am thrilled that he was fired. But let me tell you, if the government gets in the business of saying, we don't like what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if you don't say what we like, that will end up bad for conservatives."
He's right.
Yes.
He's just right.
Yes, because
and I'll
it
say
fucking...
this, I still don't like that man, Ted Cruz. But in this unique clip of news on this one thing, I must admit, he's not completely full of shit. The point is, a lot of people seem to think Brendan Carr went too far.
I love that so he admits that he didn't like the comment, which again, it wasn't even a bad comment. There was nothing offensive in that comment. It was just factual information of something that was happening. But he says that although he didn't like the comment, he wouldn't pull those people from the air because then it threatens all of conservative news because of the stupid shit that they say. They couldn't generate hate and fear if they had nothing to use against, you know, truth. And I just find it funny because he's only in it to defend himself, just like Donald Trump is. He's only in it to defend himself. He's not about freedom of speech or freedom of, you know, jokes and, oh, we're bringing back comedy and whatnot. Like, no, he's not.
It is obvious that when Mangione was on the phone for 10 minutes, someone was giving him the location. So obviously somebody else was involved, and law enforcement is not telling us everything. So obviously someone was giving him very detailed, insightful information on his whereabouts. But obviously you could almost surmise that it was an inside job to a certain extent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. That aired on nearly 24 Sinclair stations, and I've been told repeatedly this week that speculating on broadcast television about the motivations for someone's murder without having all the facts is grounds to have your license revoked. And I'll say this for Kimmel, at least he didn't say the word obviously 4 fucking times while doing it. First Amendment is absolutely critical in this country. That is something even Brendan Carr knows, given that he once tweeted, "Free speech is the counterweight. It is the check on government control. That is why censorship is the authoritarian's dream." After Kimmel's suspension, Trump posted, "That leaves Jimmy and Seth 2 total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC."
Yeah, calling for the cancellation of shows, again, after the whole free speech thing, is just such a bitch baby move. What a fucking little weasel. Slimy vagina neck dickhole.
To talk about Kimmel, Johnson had on his podcast none other than Brendan Carr, the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission. Right? And you had Carr, again, the chair of the FCC, claiming that Kimmel's remarks were part of a concerted effort to lie to the American people and that the FCC had what he called remedies that it would be looking into. Key point being that as FCC chair, Carr has real power over broadcast licenses granted to these TV stations by the federal government. Sinclair, another owner of many local TV stations, they say they're also going to suspend Kimmel's program, and also they called on Kimmel to apologize and make what they called a meaningful personal donation to Kirk's family and his Turning Point USA.
If that isn't bending over backwards and spreading cheeks and saying, "Please, Daddy, do it," like, I don't know what is. Holy shit. The fact that they did that, to not only pull someone off the air, but then to also try to force that person to donate to a charity organization that they do not want to donate to begin with.
And while the company, which is owned by Disney and has already paid $15 million to settle a defamation lawsuit with Trump, did not explain their reasoning publicly, you had Rolling Stone reporting that multiple execs felt that Kimmel had actually not said anything over the line, but the threat of Trump administration retaliation loomed.
Yeah, but just having the threat in general from the president of the United States makes things all the more scary. And again, South Park did this in their episode 1 of the newest season that they have, I think season 27, where he would just blast lawsuits for everyone, just all these slap suits just to get intimidation going, and again, ruling and projecting fear, right? Causing a division between people. He's not about unison, he's about himself. As from the clip earlier where he was on the plane and saying, "Usually I wouldn't care, but because I'm on the plane, I hope we have a safe flight." Self-centered jackass.
The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, though, of course, the network claimed that the decision was just financially motivated. Though important to note there, Trump was not a fan of Colbert. There were some concerns there. And in fact, when Colbert got canceled, Trump celebrated on social media saying, "I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next." And in fact, after this went down with Kimmel, you had him celebrating again, writing, "Great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. That leaves Jimmy and Seth 2 total losers on fake news NBC."
He really wants to just target everyone that dislikes him. The 97% that he fucking hated and that he called out statistically. And it's interesting too, because there was a time where Trump said that the people that hate me are the smart people. The smart people are the ones that really hate me.
Smart people don't like me, you know? And they don't like what we talk about.
That's the news. This part's going to be my opinion. It is very hard to look at this situation and see it as anything other than a blatant attack on free speech. But if you look out right now, there are a lot of so-called free speech warriors and anti-cancel culture people that are out rejoicing that the government appears to have pressured a company to punish and shut down a TV host over something he said. And it seems to show that a lot of times for many of those people, it's not actually about having principles and beliefs around freedom of speech and often other freedoms, but really about wanting power, control, and getting what they think is a warranted revenge. In fact, sometimes you'll see people online saying, "It's our turn."
Yeah, it's a power grab. It absolutely is. That's what I was saying earlier, is this whole thing about being pro freedom of speech and pro comedy and bring, you know, make America great again and all this shit, and then they just want to make it worse and eliminate the opposing side. You're talking about the light versus the dark, and Trump's tweets and initial reaction being that this was the radical left, that they're the ones to blame and they're the hateful ones that caused the violence and whatnot. Like, it's just fucking pathetic. It's authoritarianism. It's fucking miserable. It's just a small, tiny micro dick reaction to everything. It's so insane. Can we just not have a single day of peace sense. Just so many people gave their condolences and just let it be. You know, we gave a moment of silence. Everything was so mature and handled well from both sides on that time, except one side that has to take shit to the extreme, weaponize it, and then start selling merch about the situation, start spewing more hate speech, again protected under the First Amendment, but I disagree with it. And it's just wild. It's insane. It's just crybaby bitch behavior. Like, they just can't stop and let it go. To the guy that was crying that, why do they have to do this? Why can't they just talk about things? Have conversations, damn it. That guy, brother, we literally are. People have been doing that. How about you look at your own actions and your president's actions as well? Like, people on your side need a talking to as well. Like, this is not just one side over the other. This is a people thing. Like, talk to the people then. Denounce the stupid people that are doing this. Not the left or the right, but the stupid people. One side has more things going on than the other, and it's hard to not generalize, but it is a people thing. People are just fucking stupid and being violent, but they just happen to be on one side over the other.
Any of these I really care about free speech podcast bros that help get Trump elected, if you're silent here, you're full of shit, whether it be Joe Rogan or any of these fucking guys. They know who they are. Others calling it out. Right? Obama tweeting after years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like. And adding that media companies need to start standing up rather than capitulating to it. And then in addition to that, you had people sharing that footage of Fox commentator Brian Kilmeade calling for mentally ill and homeless people to be killed. Right? Arguing that Kimmel essentially got threatened down for what he said, but with the Fox host, he wasn't threatened.
Yeah, Brian Kilmeade endorses euthanizing homeless people in that one clip. Yeah, he fucking said involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them. Just kill the homeless people. Just fucking get rid of them. They're disgusting people. They live on the bridges and, you know, they're poor and they don't know how to live and all this kind of... You just fucking, yeah, get rid of them. Eh. Like, that shit is fucking wild. That's exactly the thing I was talking about earlier, where Fox News can say some of the most heinous shit, but the FCC is not on their ass because it's favorable to them. You know, he said that he's trying to defend, but actually he's trying to intimidate and attack. This isn't about free speech. This is a power grab.
Because if you didn't know, back in 2018, her show got dropped after there was massive backlash to a racist tweet that she posted about a senior advisor to former President Obama, with there then being an unverified rumor that Michelle Obama had gotten ABC to make that happen. The one, we don't know if that's true, and two, as others have pointed out, Obama was not president at the time. Trump was.
Yeah, more misinformation and just fucking people arguing over nothing. Like, oh, Michelle did this. How fucking dare her? Like, brother, that didn't even happen during the presidency. Chill out.
A place you have people finding themselves surprised to be agreeing with Tucker Carlson.
You hope that Charlie Kirk's death won't be used by a group we now call bad actors to create a society that was the opposite of the one he worked to build. You hope that. You hope that a year from now, the turmoil we're seeing in the aftermath of his murder won't be leveraged to bring hate speech laws to this country. And trust me, if it is, if that does happen, there is never a more justified moment for civil disobedience than that.
As much as I hate the guy, he was 100% truthful and factual in that moment, and it didn't even take long for it to be weaponized and already having it affect everything. Like I said, Trump's call to action, his blame of the left radicals. This is the fourth government shutdown, by the way, under Trump's presidency. During his first term from 2017 to 2021, on January 2018, we had a 3-day shutdown. On February 2018, we had a 1-day shutdown. From December 2018 to January 2019, the government ended the longest shutdown in history, which was lasted over 35 days. And now we have a fourth shutdown during his second presidency. That's fucking awesome. And as he continues to blame the Democrats, I want to remind everyone that, you know, the Republican Party holds a trifecta right now, which is the presidency, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. And then the FCC chairman also now trying to pull shows because it's not favorable to his views and his opinions. Like, it's already happening now. It doesn't even have to be a year later. It's happening right now. The whole memorial and parading of Charlie Kirk's passing, like, sure, that's a way to celebrate someone's passing. Maybe you don't want to be mourning the loss of your loved one and you want to have a good time and just kind of remember and celebrate the person that they were. But even during the memorial service, you had speakers trying to call to action and blame one side over the other again, and just they already are weaponizing it.
Where he even threatened to go after an ABC News reporter who asked him about it.
He'll probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech, so maybe they'll have to go after you.
He is a hero to the United States of America, and he is a martyr for the Christian faith.
With that, you had people saying that this event as a whole, it showed the extent to which conservative Christianity and even Christian nationalism is making its way into the mainstream of the Republican Party.
Why is she
with
doing
in
that?
mind, you had people pointing to things like
She's
War
rocking
Secretary
out?
Pete Hegseth talking about this like it's a war.
Over time, he realized, like so many of us have, that this is not a political war. It's not even a cultural war. It's a spiritual war.
And then others like RFK seem to compare Kirk to Jesus.
Christ.
But they blamed this being an ideology and political war. That's what they said, that this is war, that it was, what? Now they're changing it to a religious war?
Christ died at 33 years old, but he changed the trajectory of history. Charlie died at 31 years old. Because he had surrendered, he also now has changed the trajectory of history.
I would say this is very just a performative memorial service for someone that didn't even really matter in the political space. He wasn't even a politician. He was just someone spewing hate speech and just getting a lot of views for his opinions and his arguments with college campus students to be able to like boost his views and ratings and just his ego overall. He was not going to be the next president of the United States. I mean, unless he had money like Donald Trump, who had no background in being in office or in the Senate or anything like that. He was not in service to begin with, but I highly doubt that would have happened, is what I'm trying to say.
The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us.
Okay, see? There's the call to action. There's the violence right there. There's the fucking get people angry, right? Get people amped up. They have awakened the army within us. We're gonna fight this darkness. You know, the fucking Jedi against the Sith. Even though the AI generated Donald Trump holding the red lightsaber, which is, you know, in lore, the implication of the dark side. But, you know, I'm not going to get too technical on that. But again, the whole weaponization is already happening immediately. They're already trying to rally and make a call to action again. This is not a turning point in American history the way that religion was introduced. You know, they're talking about Jesus changing the course of history where everyone started believing in a new faith, right? Christianity. That was being brought to the table. Yeah, that affected history for the long run. It's something that we believe in today, something that we celebrate, holidays and all that whatnot. Charlie Kirk was just a person who spewed hate speech. He wasn't anything important, and this isn't going to change history in the way that they want it to. They're trying so hard to push his death to fit their agenda, to be able to make it like a bigger deal than, you know, to affect future laws and to affect right now, the current moment, to try to spark their own civil war. They're really trying to reach and pull anger and hatred amongst everyone. Like, we gave our condolences. Again, I showed the images, or I have 2 previous videos talking about this. I didn't want to make a 3rd one, but god damn, like, they just don't stop. They don't stop. They keep going. Holy shit. I'm over here just trying to enjoy my time, watch movies, play games. I gave my condolences to the family. I just want to enjoy a normal life. But now if I go outside, everyone's going to be talking about this shit. There's going to be people waving their Confederate flags, Nazi flags. I saw that there was a whole high school that was doing like the Nazi salute or whatever the fuck. That could have been taken out of context, but still, seeing an entire high school of people having a straight right arm held out was fucking weird. I don't know the context to that, but still, it's like this call to action is meant to reach the youths, and that's exactly what they're doing, and that's what they're succeeding in.
To those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have?
I have a Baby Yoda shirt, and I'm not calling to violence on anything. I'm trying to give condolences and memorialize Charlie Kirk and everything that he was as a person, and the people who support him in this video. That's what I'm doing. And after this, I ain't doing these videos no more, because this has been over 2.5 hours long of content that I have to edit down.
You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness. You are jealousy. You are envy. You are hatred.
It actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem.
Jesus Christ.
And Jesus shows up and he
Amen.
starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. What do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea. Why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem.
What in the supervillain ass laugh? What the fuck is he laughing at? You disrespectful dickhole. What the fuck kind of presumption and accusation? What the fuck was that about? That was fucking weird and creepy, you sick, twisted fuck. What the shit?
It doesn't work that way.
After Charlie's assassination, we didn't see violence. We didn't see rioting. We didn't see revolution. Instead, we saw what my husband always prayed he would see in this country. We saw revival. This past week, we saw people open a Bible for the first time in a decade. We saw people pray for the first time since they were children. We saw people go to a church service.
How would you know this? What information and statistics are you pulling here? Are you just... Is she correlating that his passing finally brought people back to God? Like, there's people that pray every day, go to Sunday churches even without Charlie Kirk, like, holding their hand. What is the presumption here? That he was a holy figure? What is this comment? I'm not understanding this.
For the first time in their entire lives.
Right, but then all of that, it led to what's been seen as one of the most powerful moments from the whole thing, and that was Erica saying this of the man who killed her husband.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. That young man, I forgive him. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
And then, after Erica, you had Trump, who he joked.
Actually, before I get to Trump, okay, so she only like a couple weeks later already forgave the young man. A lot of people would take years to do that. But if she's already saying that she's forgiven him, then would that mean that they could be reinstating? Oh, actually, they are. They are reinstating Jimmy Kimmel. I forgot. That's kind of the whole thing that went on earlier today. I mean, shit. Even to this day, the man that killed my uncle when I was just a child, I still don't forgive him, but it's not like I'm holding it over my shoulders or I'm pleading for him to go through capital murder to get shot or euthanized or have lethal injections or some shit. It's just something that I've moved on from. I don't have to actually like forgive that person for taking away someone that was a father figure and a person that I loved away from me. She was able to do that quickly, which is props on her, good for her. I would not. But again, I'm living my life, he's living his. It's just, I guess, something I moved on from. Without hate in my heart, I just moved on from it already. It was over with. It's done. You can't bring him back. But okay, well, that should mean that there shouldn't be any more people getting in trouble or any of this call to action that they were just doing 5 minutes before her appearance, like talking about rising up and trying to target the radical left or whatever their accusations were, like trying to start a war, trying to incite violence. Like, this is literally trying to build an army. They're trying to fuel people with anger and hatred. So I guess we can drop all that now, boys. Mrs. Kirk said that she forgave him, so let's go back to being peacemakers. All right, let's just move on from this.
You had Trump, who he joked or said that he didn't agree with Erica.
He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent.
Holy shit. Oh. Wow. Way to take... I was actually... Okay, like I said, I was surprised that she would actually do that. It was a very performative memorial service. This big-ass getup, this big-ass building, all these projections and screens and people, and having all these speakers, right-winged speakers, come up and talk about this kind of stuff and their hatred as well. She tries to kind of calm things down a little bit. I was a little skeptical about that, but she did. And then fucking dipshit, oh my, Donald Jackass Trump did not just, oh wow, holy shit. Our president of the United States, everybody. Oh my God. But you know what? I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. He has done things like this before. Like every president previous, and for everyone on the internet that was trying to give condolences and trying to make peace and try to settle the violence like what Joe Biden did, the attack on Donald Trump's life and whatnot. We all try to promote the peace, that everyone just needs to calm down and relax. Everyone needs to chill. This would have been the perfect time for Donald Trump to also promote the peace and tell people to kind of relax and to listen to the wife then at this point, because if she forgave the killer, then, you know, we can all learn to just move on, continue with the justice system, hold him accountable to the harshest extent of the law, you know, kind of make sure that as the president, we're uniting people and calling for peace. And this fucking jackass did the complete opposite again.
Oh, we may disagree. We are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together.
For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today.
Hate speech.
Not one Democrat voted for us, and I think we use it in the campaign that's coming up, the midterms, because we got to beat them. But all of the things that we've given, and they wouldn't vote only because they hate Trump. But I hate them too, you know that? So it's suddenly, I really do, I hate them.
An American president saying that he hates half of the country. He hates Democrats simply because of the way they want to vote and what they believe in. He hates them.
He's the one that's actually spreading the hate. He is the one riling up all this anger within everyone, and that's his marketing tool. He brings the rage out of people, all this hate and frustration and anger, and immediately uses that emotion as a weapon to call to action, to have them storm the Capitol and whatnot, to try to hang Mike Pence. It's insane.
They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us. To those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have?
Repeating his claim that political violence comes largely from the left and that left-wing protesters are often paid agitators, and saying again his administration would be looking into it.
The Department of Justice is also investigating networks of radical left maniacs who fund, organize, fuel, and perpetrate political violence, and we think we know who many of them are.
Right, and with all that, Trump's speech at times, it sounded more like a campaign speech than a eulogy to many.
That's exactly what it is. Holy shit.
Several minutes talking about his administration's efforts to reduce autism rates and his decision to deploy the National Guard and federal agents to Washington, and he actually claimed that Kirk had urged him to dispatch federal troops to Chicago.
One of the last things he said to me is, please, sir, save Chicago. We're going to do that. We're going to save Chicago from horrible crime.
Can we save it from you? Holy shit. The dispatching of the armed forces, and then he has to make up his statistics that it's actually reducing crime when it's not helped at all. It's just a waste of fucking money and people's times.
Comments about hating his opponent have definitely drawn kind of the most attention. Not only because it would go against what Erica Kirk herself said and which he claimed her husband believed, but also because they're not just words. They appear to be backed up by what Trump has done and continues to do. You had him writing on social media. Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? We're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now.
The 34 indictments on the hush money, let's not forget that one too. I love that he puts in capitals everything to emphasize that he's having a crybaby bitch tantrum.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, for example, getting ready to force a vote on a resolution honoring Kirk. And I say forced because the Democrats do not seem too thrilled about it. Or with one, for example, telling Axios, people are worried that we're being totally set up because anything short of a unanimous vote could be a rallying cry for Republicans. But as far as what the resolution itself looks like, it eulogizes Kirk as a devoted Christian and a courageous American patriot, declaring Charlie Kirk personified the values of the First Amendment, exercising his God-given right to speak freely.
Debatable, and objectively I would say incorrect, because he did not show respect for his fellow Americans, especially the people that he was arguing against. He wanted to have the high ground and be able to disrespect everyone at any turning point that he had.
Ryder accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words.
If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist.
Why
but
does
now they're
like
coming
that?
out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action.
Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
You had to steal a white person's slot in order to be taken seriously. He exited from a quote and then immediately, after the whole racist, he immediately exited a quote and then entered his own opinion. So that is something that he did say. And the whole list of names that he just gave were a list of black women names. So even if he was only talking about those black women, they're big names, right? He's trying to make a point. It's generalization. And remember how we're talking about not wanting to wish death upon people or spew hate speech? You know, the whole thing about him passing and then people were being so mean to Charlie Kirk online, allegedly, even though that, again, wasn't happening in mass. But
I mean, Joe Biden is a bumbling, dementia-filled Alzheimer's corrupt tyrant who should honestly be put in prison and or given the death penalty for his crimes against America.
What crimes? What were the crimes against America that Donald Trump doesn't do, or any of the right-wing extremist commentators that have their own platforms spewing hate speech constantly and trying to fuel people's rage to weaponize it against the entire country?
Please, let's get loud for Kyle Rittenhouse.
That is absolutely over the top. He took 2 people's lives and they're celebrating again with another fucking big ass stage.
Kyle! 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 Kyle!
We shouldn't be celebrating the deaths of people, but then they have a whole fucking performative goddamn concert going on. What is happening? The hypocrisy is wild.
We have radicals on the right as well. We have radicals on the left. How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy. Although they want men and women sports, they want transgender for everyone, they want open borders.
I'm seeing one of the comments saying that he's not part of the problem, he's the root of the problem. He's the division of this country. He truly does not give a shit to fix America. He says that he could care less. Whether he's talking about fixing the country, or he couldn't care less about the left radicals, or he couldn't care less about making peace. Either way, it's all synonymous with the same response that he had, that he just couldn't be asked, can't be bothered, and he doesn't want to fix the problem. He couldn't care. He just wants to hate his enemies. He wants to destroy his enemies and just make the problem worse for everyone. He's just calling upon rage and hatred. Someone said that Charlie Kirk isn't a martyr. He's the casualty of the violence that he's incited. Again, with Laura Loomer. Charlie Kirk's death will not be in vain. I will be spending my night making everyone I find online who celebrates his death famous. So prepare to have your whole future professional aspirations ruined if you are sick enough to celebrate his death. Congratulations to George Floyd on being 5 years sober today. Thank you, Laura Loomer.
I don't like you. I think you spread hate. I think you spread bigotry. I think you piss a lot of people off. You're just an awful person. I don't think you really want to debate because you're just here to piss people off and energize your crowd of racists.
What have I ever said that's racist?
Oh, what?
Can you name one thing?
It's called the white fragility prayer. This is a psychosocial model that I'm currently developing. It's characterizing a kind of predictive model of what you can expect a white person to articulate if they are found in proximity to racism. It goes, racism exists, but not here. And if it's here, it's not me. And if it was me, I didn't mean it. And if I meant it, it's not racist, or I'm not racist. That's just how it is. It's a way in which, no matter how close the racism might actually be in proximity to a person who might in fact be perpetuating racism in some harmful way, there's always an effort to distance oneself from it. I want to give you some examples of what the white fragility prayer looks like in action.
Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Like we have been from Somalia and from the third world, all of a sudden they say diversity is a strength. Is it really? Is diversity a strength in Minneapolis? Is that really a strength? No. You know what is a strength? The unity we find in being an American, not in being Muslim or in being whatever faction or tribe that you come from. And yet people go around sloppily saying, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist. It is so destructive to our dialogue. It's destructive to us coming together as a country, and there's nothing to support it whatsoever.
The psychosocial model characterizes what are very clear, cut and paste textbook examples of racism that are unambiguously clear, and yet predictable responses would be attempts to insert any kind of barrier that allows them to distance themselves from racism, even when it's their own behavior. It's never who we are. It's never where we are. We're never willing to admit that, in fact, we are racist. The racism, it exists, but it's always out there somewhere. It's always someone else's problem. It's always just out of reach, and we're totally against racism, but the racism is never where we are.
This is why he goes and debates with the college students, because they can't pull up a single moment. It's a live reaction that's happening. Like, he'll show up to the school and all these kids want to talk to him and say that you're a terrible person. Their morality is correct. It is there, but they don't come prepared with the information that they have. So that person giving the lecture currently about white prayer fragility, they have a fragile ego and they hate being called racist. But then when you actually pull up the videos and the facts and you show them what they say, then they want to start pulling back the comments or start saying that I'm not a racist, it exists, but that's not me. It's someone else. Like, I'm not the problem here. Like, what is so good about having Muslim people, Ukrainians, Russians? What's so good about having Baptists and black people and all these other tribes that they belong to? Like, you're associating black people with tribes instantly, and like that's telling on you, you know? The other comment that he made previously about the black women not having the brain processing power, that he gave a whole list of black women, and then he said that you have to take a white person's seat in order to be taken serious. You had to take a white person's seat, implying and demonstrating that he believes that the white people are superior and they deserve the seat, that they're of like a lineage or something, like royalty, where they earned that seat and title just for being white. And this is why most of his videos, like the Jubilee videos and whatnot, all of his debates, the Turning Point USA, which is actually in this clip, is him debating the college kids, because their heart is in the right place, but they don't know how to argue or defend themselves with these things. They can't just bring like a monitor, or maybe they can, maybe with enough preparation, they can bring a monitor, have all these clips in collection, and show it to him in live time. And maybe that would actually be helpful if they actually pulled up what he himself has said. The hate speech that he spews, the anger that he fuels, the violence that he incites. He defends the Second Amendment for guns and says, unfortunately, if there are deaths, it's worth it to protect their other God-given rights. And again, I do not believe God said, thou shalt kill your neighbor with an AK-47 or whatever the weapon was from 200 meters away. You know, his own wife at his eulogy said that she forgave the shooter and she wants to call people to come together, which I was very skeptical of, because again, knowing Charlie Kirk and all of the other people within the right-wing political commentary spectrum, Laura Loomer, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ben Shapiro, the faces that have been in this entire video, those faces, right, that are right-wing supported political people, all of them spew hate and anger, and they utilize everything that they can as fuel to keep the fire burning, to keep people angry and hating each other and wanting to cause these divides. They're not here to have conversations. So that man who was crying that, why did you have to kill Charlie Kirk? You guys always lead to violence. You never want to have conversations. That man that was screaming his lungs out, factually, he's just wrong, because people have been trying to have conversations even right now. I'm not trying to put a call to action. This young gentleman's not trying to have a call to action. He's trying to show someone that they're just wrong, that they're inappropriate, that they're disrespectful, that they're just terrible people. He doesn't have the tools or resources to fight against it here in this moment with a debate, with any sort of like screenshots or videos or anything like that. But even when these people do get called out, Charlie Kirk does get called out a lot.
I think you spread hate, I think you spread bigotry, I think you piss a lot of people off, because I mean, you're just an awful person. I don't think you really want to debate, because you're just here to piss people off and energize your crowd of racists.
What have I ever said that's racist?
His response is always going to be defensive and wants to play dumb and act stupid that he doesn't understand the definition of racism. That's why a lot of people make the comment, I will be honoring Charlie Kirk, which is the point of my third and final video. This is it. I'm not here to incite violence. I'm not here to condone it. I'm not here to say that the shooter was right. I haven't even been talking about the shooter at all, because he's not worth my time. He's a stupid person, whether he's left, right, whatever the fuck his religion is, whatever his beliefs are, whether he's Italian, Romanian, whatever, an Andrew Tate lover, Donald Trump cocksucker, whatever he is, I don't care. I'm not promoting that sort of behavior, right? I'm here to honor Charlie Kirk's memory the way he wanted to be remembered. He said, I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage. That's why he doesn't demonstrate it. He doesn't believe in empathy or loving thy neighbor like his wife demonstrated at the eulogy. I don't know how his wife is. I know that she has certain promiscuous images of her online because she used to be a Miss America, and that's where she met Donald Trump as well. Maybe she could be tied to the Epstein files. We don't know. That's an investigation that has to be had in a conversation for later. But at the moment, I'm focusing on Charlie Kirk and the person that he is.
Some cultures better than others. No, what the fuck? You think that our culture is equal to Iran? Do you think our culture is the same as the CCP? Western values are superior. Of course they are, obviously. What do you consider Western values?
Numerous scientific scholars that are trying to examine the nature of humanity in a scientifically meaningful sense. What does it mean to be human? Why are there these racial differences? Can we map them out? Can we group them? And Carolus Linnaeus is one of the first people to attempt to try to do this, not just for people, but his interest was in trying to find the relationship between all life on Earth according to appearance. And he describes, or at least tries to explore, what lines can be drawn to define why one group is a different species from another. He's using not just appearance, skin color, but he's also using culture, language, clothing as a way to describe the perhaps sophisticated nature or lack of sophisticated nature of these individuals. And he alludes to this notion that these racial differences between these species, if Africans in their natural environment appear to be barbaric. If Americans in their natural environment appear to be barbaric, they must be in some way, it is in their biological nature to be that way. And if Europe is like more elegant, clearly more technologically sophisticated, then that too must mean that Europeans, it is somehow in their biological nature to be that way. And then other scientists start building on these ideas.
But he's not a racist though, right? I mean, that's clearly not the pure blanketed statement definition of racism during his Turning Point USA speeches. Kirk summed up the reasoning for claiming that Western culture, whatever that is superior. According to Kirk, obviously it is. That is both the premise and the conclusion. Kirk is not an intellectual. He was a charlatan who said things that reinforced ill-founded beliefs. This is incredibly blinded to other cultures and races out there in the world, and just how ethnicity works and how the world was built upon, you know, this diversity that we have. It's incredibly blinded and self-centered.
And by the way, don't call them immigrants. They're line cutters and border jumpers. Immigrants are people that wait in line and fill out the forms and come here correctly. Don't conflate the two. Don't conflate the two. When you border jump, you're not an immigrant. You're something completely different.
A criminal? Is that what you're going to say?
You're not an equivalent.
An equivalent of...
So nobody's complaining at this period in time about illegal immigrants and blah, 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 because they're all reaping the benefits of what was documented immigration or undocumented immigration. Who gives a shit right now? But then that starts to create a problem where you start getting this influx of Mexican migrants that are just crossing into the US, quote unquote, illegally, even though this is their goddamn native land. And they're showing up to work these fields as manual laborers. Hell, you don't even have to go to the field. How many of you have gone down to the Home Depot, right down the hill here? Right when you drive into the entrance, what do you see? At any Home Depot, really. People who are manual laborers who are looking for work, and if you're willing to pay them, they're willing to help. So it's kind of like that. And so now this creates a problem where it's a numbers problem. Holy shit. Now, for some reason, there's like a bunch of Mexicans everywhere. Like Spanish is like, people are speaking Spanish down here, and like, oh wait, hold on, there's too many. What is going on here? Some of them are documented, some of them are not documented. Which ones are which? We don't know. But like, we kind of need to control this. Otherwise, this is just going to become New Mexico. No? Bad joke? Okay.
No, that was a good one. That was a good joke. And he's right, too. I have been here. This was their native land, New Mexico, and then it was taken away from America. Someone made a comment in the comment section. Did the Pilgrims wait in line to fill out forms when they took the land from the Native Americans? I didn't think so. Criminalizing the minority group is a gatekeeping way of infringing on the rights of everyone else. But he was so peaceful and loving, though, wasn't he? He was all about unison and bringing America together. Right, like what they said at his eulogy. You know, he was all about one America, right?
So the federal government launches what's called Operation Wetback. This would be the equivalent of calling it Operation Nigger. So with Operation Wetback, they're like, we got to control these numbers here. Yes, we want these workers here, but we want you to come here legally. So what do they start doing? Figure out how to like round up all of these Mexican migrants and then deport them and send them back to Mexico. But then there's a problem here. Some of the Spanish-speaking people are in fact American citizens. So some of those Spanish-speaking American citizens are also getting rounded up and deported, only to then get sent right back to the United States because they're not Mexican. And then you have Mexican people who are documented that are also getting rounded up and then sent back even though they have their paperwork. And then you have Mexican or Spanish-speaking people that are Mexican but are undocumented that are still not getting caught. So it's chaos. And it's like there's no way Operation Wetback is going to effectively address the problem of immigration by like rounding these people up and like sending them back.
That could have been blurred a little bit more, but no, he's absolutely correct. All this did was cause chaos. All this did was spend, what, $45,000 of like signature bonus and annual raises for ICE agents. All it did was incentivize, again, more hate, more division, and rounding up people that are legal Americans. Like they have to have not only their time wasted being pulled away from work, possibly being let go because they've been gone for weeks on end, once they actually have the opportunity months later to prove that they are legal citizens and residents of the United States of America with their papers, it's already too late. A lot of the damage has been done. Rent has been missed, bills are due, you know, their family has been taken and separated. It's heartbreaking and tragic. You know, they don't do the research before they start rounding people. They just fucking round everyone that's like, your mustache, that looks like a Mexican mustache. Get your ass in the van.
Literally, it's just, there's no other discretion being used other than, do they look like they speak Spanish? Do they speak Spanish? Get them, put them in a cage, and then send them back to Mexico.
Exactly.
What does that sound like? Sounds familiar, right?
Because of history. I think a lot of this has to deal with being uneducated. And I'm not saying he's not educated in other stances. He may be educated in business, or he may be educated in the fact that he's done a lot of these type of rants and a lot of these, you know, Turning Point USA kind of debates with college kids and just random people that he can have easy arguments with. But this is what I'm talking about. Education being important is that we need to learn about history, because we see history repeat itself again and again and again, with our president saying he doesn't give a shit about America. He doesn't give a shit about anything, really.
How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less.
How to make the country better? It's because it's repeating history the way it has been before, where we have uneducated people in powerful positions where they control the narrative and they control everything. The history revisionism, right? I love this man, by the way. His content has been great. I only just found him on accident just now. I was trying to look at my own kind of saved clips that I have found, but he's really smart. You know, he's a university professor. I think that more schools, not just colleges, but more schools need to have this type of educator. They need to have history again. We need to talk about history. We need more educated people on the streets rather than stupid, dumbass fucking kids making TikTok videos or hydroplaning their expensive cars, or that one Emily streamer where she's blasting through red lights and she's like, oopsie. I do that all the time. They don't care. My city doesn't care. People do that all the time, and like they're all quirky and shit. People are so invested in trying to become a celebrity of some sort, where they lack in education. They want to just do the grind of being an OnlyFans model and whatnot, and trying to promote everything on all their social media pages, but they don't take the time to educate themselves on anything. People have their morals set in the right place, their heart set in the right place, where they can denounce this violence, and they also denounce white supremacy, and they just may not have the education because they don't put the study or research into it. They need to support channels that are trying to educate people again. I think that's what we're missing, is just we have such a heavy lack of education that people are spewing and saying stupid shit just to get likes and clicks and views, and who's gonna really believe in what I say anyway? I mean, what I'm saying is absolutely ridiculous and no one's gonna really believe it, but then you grow your audience based on that. You grow your audience based on the ignorance of people that just are hateful, that have so much rage and anger in their heart that they just want to fucking attack other people or storm the Capitol or whatever. Again, this is not me trying to disrespect Charlie Kirk's memory. This is his memory. This is what he wanted. This is the actual memorial that they should have been hosting for him. There's all these clips. Teach history.
Mr. President, why target Chicago and Boston when there are cities and red states with higher crime rates?
Yeah. Really? Higher than Chicago?
There are, like Memphis and St. Louis.
Excuse me. You know how many people were killed in Chicago last weekend? 8. You think there's worse than that? I don't think so.
But FBI statistics show otherwise. The red state cities of Memphis and St. Louis have significantly higher murder rates than both Boston and Chicago.
It's accurate. He's allergic to facts.
So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped and she was going to give birth and she would and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane.
So I would say the way that she's making the argument is very sassy. Right? So it's going to be something that's going to not be taken seriously from the men, especially the alpha males. When I say men, I mean the alpha males like Charlie Kirk, Andrew Tate, these kind of debate me bros. You know what I'm saying? I'm 100% on her side though. She's overly animated about the situation, but this is a real thing that happens. There's a lot of people that get raped, sexually assaulted by their fathers, by cousins and brothers and, you know, uncles and whatnot, even just random, you know, college girls that are going into the army, you know, they're being surrounded by men. And let alone the question being directed towards like, what if your 10-year-old daughter was raped, right? I mean, I would say also ask, like, what if it was your wife that was raped? Would you still force her to carry the child and then you raise the child yourself and love the child like it's your own? These people are pro-life, as they say, where they want the child to be born, but as far as getting the medical assistance or, you know, the therapy going forward, or if they have any mental health disorders because of, like, let's say it is an incestual relationship where the brother does inseminate the sister and then the sister is forced to carry the child, you know, like, you just leave that kid to rot? Like, what if the mother does die during birth, you know, to her rapist baby, and then they get sent to an orphanage? Like, do you still care for the child then afterwards? Like, no, you force the person to give birth to the child, but then you don't provide any care or assistance afterwards for the human being for the rest of their life as they grow up. They have to grow up the hard way. So instead of making someone suffer or go through a pregnancy which may result in a fatality, this is about safety and people having the choice to make sure that not only they're safe, healthy, and alive, but then the baby is raised in a proper environment or loved appropriately, you know?
What are your thoughts on abortion?
On abortion? I'm pro-life, so.
Pro-life?
An excellent example.
If there could be more gun control that could save children's lives, would you want to pass that gun control?
How would that save children's lives?
The mass shootings, guns. Guns is the leading cause of death for children in America.
Yeah. No, it's not.
You know, it is. It is.
No, it's not.
Guns is the leading cause of death for children in America.
Okay, but that's... Thank you. Okay.
Did he say okay or I don't care? I didn't hear that last part. But yes, this is going hand in hand, not only with the pro-life thing as well, but also like they don't want to change any of the gun reform or gun laws because the leading cause of death in children have been the school shootings, have been the mass school shootings that they've been having. And then this ties together with Trump loving the uneducated because he is unfortunately uneducated, but he has voters' rights. He has a voice equal to everyone on the internet, along with children on the internet. There are 14-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, whatever, that have social media accounts and they can spew stupid shit as much as they want. So they can see this video and agree with this man because they think it's funny simply to troll people. But then on the online space, he himself will see that someone's agreeing with him and then be in that echo chamber of, oh, well, this guy loves me. So obviously I'm correct. He agreed with my views. And it could be like a 13-year-old kid just fucking around trolling this guy. And then it like reciprocates a back and forth kind of bounce that he thinks he's in the right. Based on the data for the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, gun violence is the leading cause of death for children and teenagers in the United States. This has been the case since 2020 when firearms surpassed motor vehicle crashes as the primary cause of death for this age group. And then there's also going to be things like, you know, mental health and suicide, right? According to data analysis from sources like Kaiser Family Foundation and the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Solution, gun violence significantly outpaces many other dangers to American children and teens. In 2023, for children and teens ages 1 through 17, firearms caused 2,566 deaths, making it the leading cause of mortality. And we're over here freaking out and screaming about Charlie Kirk, one person, right? He said that it's worth it to have a few gun deaths every year. Not just a few gun deaths, in the fucking thousands, to be able to protect their other God-given rights, for the freedom of speech and for our Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. We're over here witnessing a death in a memorial service for one man who spewed hate speech from the videos that I just showed before and his beliefs. That is the person that he demonstrated himself to be to the public world. Meanwhile, these are just children who haven't got to experience life yet. These are children who haven't gotten to get to that stage of maturity to outgrow this 31-year-old man. And we're celebrating and worshiping his death. We're trying to make a holiday after Charlie Kirk and have a whole performative memorial service in order to fuel more violence from the Republican MAGA party, but the kids get nothing. It's just, these are child actors, and you know, it's worth it to have a couple deaths every year in order to protect our gun rights, right? This is absolutely insane. The United States is an outlier among similarly large and wealthy countries, and these nations' firearms are not even among the top 4 causes of death for children and teens. Our biggest issue is still going to be the firearms, the guns, the gun violence, the shootings. We're not even one of the top countries on the planet, the safest countries, the happiest countries. We're not. As much as people want to be deluded in thinking that we are not. I'm taking a screenshot and leaving it here because I'm not going to actually show the full clip. It's about like 3 or 4 minutes long. But if you Google or YouTube, can you say why America is the greatest country in the world? The clip is taken from an episode of an American television political drama series called The Newsroom. And he goes off one of the questions that someone asked about America being the greatest country in the world. And he says that we're not. And then he starts giving off a list of factual information to the person statistically based on information that we get on why we have so many gun rates and crimes and abortions and all this kind of stuff. So our ratings are kind of low on there. I've never seen The Newsroom. I've only ever seen this clip. This is what was reminding me of as soon as I was editing the video. Honestly, cancer being the top cause of death for this age group in another country is astounding because cancer is a natural cause, right? It's something that we're trying to fight against, something that we don't have medicines for as of yet. We're making amazing strides in technological breakthroughs, but this is a more natural way of passing, right? The human body fighting itself. This is people fighting people with weaponry. This is not a natural cause of death. This is having a life taken away from you. And then we have citations here. We have articles and information that people could be reading and pulling from, but they fucking don't. So again, it's people like this, the uneducated that Donald Trump fucking loves. He absolutely is supported by people that don't want to look at the facts or the information. They just scream fake news as soon as they see the facts.
A lot of them are on birth control too. And birth control like really screws up female brains, by the way. Every single one of you need to make sure that your loved ones are not on birth control. It increases depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation. Birth control is the #1 most prescribed medication for young ladies under the age of 25. They will give young ladies birth control for pimples, for acne, to control their moods, their period. It is
okay. The moods and period, yeah, those are mood swings, and people have very heavy flows. But everything else, you're fucking stupid.
Awful. It's terrible, and it creates very angry and bitter young ladies and young women.
Again, it helps to it doesn't help directly to regulate their mood, but with less heavy flow and less irritations and cramps. I mean, it would do the opposite. It would help people a lot immensely to relieve of that pain that they have every single month, 3 to 5 days a week, depending on the flow and of people's anatomy. Everyone's different.
That bitterness then manifests into a political party that is the bitter party. I mean, the Democrat Party is all about bring us your bitterness and, you know, we'll give you free stuff. It's like we'll trade you, you know, bitterness for stuff, essentially. That's like the Democrat Party.
I like the way that he had to fucking double down on that and explain that's what they do. Them. Yeah, the Democrat Party. That's what they do. Yeah, them. I'm still in agreement with this, but again, everything that I keep showing, you can understand why the youth is angry, right? Why people are so upset and they don't even want to show any empathy or respect for the man that passed. And it's understandable because, again, all this attention, all this national attention is going towards one person, Charlie Kirk, when we've had school shootings that happened recently, immediately, like literally at the exact same time that his shooting took place, and we're not talking about them at all. The kids' lives that were taken, those young, innocent people that haven't had a chance to live life, to grow up, to learn and get their education set. Their lives were just taken. They're gone. They're gone. But we fucking have to celebrate this gaslighting dickhole. You know, like he's incredibly disrespectful to people, and that's why people don't want to give respect in return. We can both condemn Charlie Kirk's murder and refuse to be gaslit into pretending that he was some sort of saint in death when he was actually a truly awful person in life, because we're not in a cult. There's another comment right below it. Charlie Kirk is Andrew Tate with religious flavor into it. The whole celebration of Charlie Kirk, people are like praising him and making him some sort of martyr as if he was kissing babies or some shit. He wasn't. He hasn't done anything for the general populace of people besides cater to those who are already angry and having a complex and rage already seated deep in their heart in order to just let that out into the world again. He was spewing hate speech constantly. Yeah, I thought this was weird too.
We can all read the thoughts going through his mind, right? Like, it's not just me.
You Roger. Roger.
Yeah, why is he doing that? He's going back into his creepy, old, goofy, goober-ass, horny ways. Look at this fucking reaction. What is this? He is so happy and incredibly horny. And if you looked at Donald Trump's other videos, every time he saw a hot woman, he would immediately go, "She's hired, right? So, she's got the job? Yeah? I'll immediately see you back on my plane, huh? You're hired on the spot? How much you want, baby? How much you want?" This is fucking sick. That's disgusting, man. That is disrespectful and straight up horny fucking behavior right there. Oh my god. No shame at a fucking memorial. You wanted to respect Charlie Kirk? Oh, guess what's trending on Twitter? Trump is a national disgrace. Hashtag Trump is a national disgrace. Also, this was meant to mimic and insult the fact that Laura Loomer had posted that George Floyd is 5 years sober today. So this is kind of taking that joke and putting it back on Charlie Kirk. I do not agree with this post. I'm just showing it because, again, the lack of respect and empathy that Charlie Kirk gave out for other people is exactly what he's going to be reciprocated and given in return. I don't agree with it. However, that's just kind of how it is. That's kind of the world that you lived in, that you want it to be. People say be the good in the world that you want to see. Well, that's what he wanted. So I'm only showing this one because it's subjectively funny. It has nothing to do with Charlie Kirk or any of the situation going on besides these two man babies reuniting again after the whole fallout like a month ago. They had like the worst breakup on the entire planet and now they're back together for Charlie Kirk's sake. Oh yeah, Fox News also posted this, Man of Steel, because of the Superman movie that came out, saying that the body stopped the bullet that would have typically just go through everything and it was an absolute miracle. No one else was killed. His surgeon told the TPUSA. I trying to say that he had superhuman strength or whatever, but he couldn't prevent a you know what, I don't even fucking care anymore. I'm still personally left dumbfounded by this comment and statement. I've been seeing the tweet, I've been looking at other reports. I just can't help but be confused because when you look at the graphic video from all the angles, the bullet clearly pierces through one side of the neck and exits the other. That's how he was gushing blood all over the place. Unless he was shot multiple times or something, but I truly do not believe in this statement. It's fucking bizarre and ridiculous. This has nothing to do with Kash Patel, but I'm just going through stuff. This is also another comedic jab going at the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing. I'm already over the Jimmy Kimmel thing, especially since he's going to be back on air anyway. But I thought this was an interesting thing that they did for
we are all Jimmy Kimmel.
For him. I'm not Jimmy Kimmel, by the way.
Still have a show, though, right? Okay, good. Yesterday, after threats from Trump's FCC chair, is blatant censorship. And it always starts small. You know, remember like in week 1 of his presidency? Gulf of America. Call it Gulf of America. Sure, seems harmless, but with an autocrat, you cannot give an inch. And to Jimmy, just let me say, I stand with you and your staff 100%. And also, you couldn't let me enjoy this for like 1 week.
Another interesting comment that I saw was that a database compiling the identities of tens of thousands of individuals who celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination will soon go live. And again, I learned recently that they aren't even talking about celebrating as in like woohoo, but they're talking about celebrating as in what I did in the video was just show clips of Charlie Kirk himself demonstrating who Charlie Kirk was while Charlie Kirk was alive. But anyway, so they're talking about receiving nearly 20,000 submissions and giving it to their employers to be able to have them fired. And this is the largest firing operation in history. Oh my God, I could not say that for some reason. So someone responded flabbergasted because why don't y'all put this type of energy into catching online pedophiles? Especially with the whole thing going on with Roblox at the moment and that one YouTube creator that got banned because he was trying to expose people for targeting children. Like, we can put all this attention and effort to freedom of speech, to censor people, especially when it comes to Jimmy Kimmel and whatnot. I mean, he's coming back, so that's good. But it is a great point. It is a great point. All this energy has gone to waste. Or could be redirected somewhere else to a much better use of time. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm just going to leave it on the screen and you can read it for yourself. But Attorney General Pam Bondi was saying that hate speech crosses the line and threats into the violence is not protected by the First Amendment. I agree that hate speech crosses the line into threats of violence, but it is something that is protected by the First Amendment, something I mentioned many times. And even if she wanted to take this kind of high road route that, you know, hate speech is inciting violence, well then everything that I showed earlier previously about all these Republicans inciting violence and even at his memorial was saying that this will unite us, it's sparking a war within us, we will rise as an army, you know, that one bald guy, Lex Luthor piece of shit that was saying that, then maybe you should go after your own party at some points. I think that would be very necessary if you really want to follow through on your beliefs. She got fact checked right here. The U.S. Constitution does protect most violent speeches. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before, but I wanted to bring this back just in case to kind of give clarification on that. I'm also going to add this in here too, because someone was utilizing Grok to kind of fact check if these claims above were true. The left kills the CEO of United Healthcare, kills 2 Israeli ambassador staffers, attempts twice to assassinate the president, doxes and attempts to murder federal ICE agents and police all week, and now kills the Minnesota representative and her husband and injures a senator and his wife. The left has become a full-blown domestic terrorist organization, which is incorrect. We've already talked about this many times, but whatever. And in the claims like evidence linking them to the left as a group, the United Healthcare CEO's killing was by an individual with personal grievances, not a political faction. You know, Luigi Mangione. And then he also was found not guilty for one of the charges, I believe, but he still has other charges like homicide and whatnot going on. Oh yeah, so Luigi Mangione, the judge had dismissed 2 top charges against him in the United Healthcare CEO shooting. The man was accused of killing Brian Thompson, will not face state terrorism related murder charges, but the others will stand. The first degree murder and second degree murder, both of which prosecutors had argued were terroristic crimes. But he's still going to face the additional charges of second degree murder charges, as well as the federal murder charge of killing the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in last December. But anyway, it's going on a whole thing about these were just lone suspects and they weren't affiliated with any political party or association. The doxing of the ICE agents happened, but no murder attempts are ever documented. So the original tweet was fact checked by Grok AI himself, and then he also posts links later on in the tweets. The Minnesota lawmaker shooting was targeted, but no evidence ties it to the left. These are isolated acts not coordinated by any group. And then they were trying to argue against the AI. Butler, PA shooting on July 13th, 2024 was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, then presidential candidate, not sitting president. My earlier statement about no presidential assassination attempts referred to the sitting president as of June 2025, where only threats and not actual attempts have been reported since January of 2025. The term presidential can include candidates, as with RFK in 1968, so your broader interpretation is valid. I focus too narrowly on the sitting president, but the Butler event was indeed an attempt on the candidate. And then someone continues to argue that I think Grok has been taking notes from the leftist media and is slowly becoming a Democrat. I'm designed to base responses on verified facts, not politics. My clarification on the assassination attempt was to ensure accuracy. Trump was the candidate then, not the sitting president. Okay, Grok, answer another form of the original question. Are there people in the Democratic Party more or less violent than the people in the Republican Party? Based on the surveys, PRRI, 33% Republicans versus the 13% Democratic support political violence. And data, ADL, right-wing extremists committed all 2024 extremist murders. Red states have 24% higher murder rates per third way. Republicans show a higher support for and association with violence. We have seen this in many of their fucking rallies where they support violence and gun shootings and euthanization of poor people and whatnot. There's so much evidence of this shit, and people want to fucking still ask this stupid fucking question. Oh my god. Brother, holy shit. Okay, Grok, thank you. Although I absolutely do not agree with you, I've seen violent riots, business burned down, and streets blocked. This is a good point. All attributed to the left. Yet you're claiming the right is more violent. I have yet to see reports from what you claim. I cannot believe I'm debating with an AI. I respect your perspective and example of left-associated riots. Example, 2020 Black Lives Matters protest per ACLED data. 93% peaceful, but some caused $1 to $2 billion worth of damages. However, ADL reports that 2024 extremist murders were right-winged. When we're talking about murders versus property damage and violent protests, maybe that's what you're saying, that the left has been more violent, but no, we're talking about cases of death. You cannot bring back people. You can remake tools. You can rebuild buildings. You can get more property, right? You can always create more iPhones or whatever the shit. Those things we can get back. Those are covered by insurance if you really want to go that route. PRRI finds Republicans 2 to 3 times more supportive of political violence, which we saw in Charlie Kirk's fucking memorial. Third Way shows red states' murder rates are 33% higher in 2022, and then they bring in their sources. Debates are valid, facts evolve over time. Usually I disagree with Grok and Elon Musk and all this shit, but in this case, he's even bringing in fucking sources and telling you all the statistics that you were asking for, you stupid, dumb, ignorant jackass. And then after this, most likely, he's probably gonna still go, oh, the fucking Democrats are so violent. They're causing 1 point whatever billions of damages and killing peoples, and it's definitely not me and my group and associated political party.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, for example, getting ready to force a vote on a resolution honoring Kirk. And I say force because the Democrats do not seem too thrilled about it. Or with one, for example, telling Axios, people are worried that we're being totally set up because anything short of a unanimous vote could be a rallying cry for Republicans.
Exactly. So now that they're setting up this whole House vote and honoring Charlie Kirk, if someone is immediately not going to say yes to it, it's going to be seen as some sort of fucking message to be sent to the Republican Party and all the supporters that, you know, the Democrats aren't going to support in honoring Charlie Kirk's memory, which is what I'm doing. I'm honoring his memory right now by showing you all the clips of the person that he was and what he preached to be. When people say that this is the person that they are, you have to believe them in that. Literally, Trump said that all the time, and even when he says he does not give a shit about this country, it's not his business or his thing, that he wants to defeat his enemies. He does not want to wish them well. He does not want to work with them. He wants to fight them. He wants violence. He wants division. He is the root, not the participant of all this anger and hate speech and division for the country. Charlie Kirk was one of those people where he was saying that the white people of the United States of America, of the Western culture, is better than the rest of the world. So this is a setup. This is what they're talking about. If you don't immediately agree with the Republicans, then we're going to start calling ABC to get you off the air, or we're going to start going after all these other people, these 97% of people that disagree with Trump, even though he hates smart people. I hate the smart people. I love stupid people. I love dumb people because they vote for me. This is exactly what we're talking about.
But as far as what the resolution itself looks like, it eulogizes Kirk as a devoted Christian and a courageous American patriot, declaring Charlie Kirk personified the values of the First Amendment, exercising his God-given right to speak freely, challenge prevailing narratives, and did so with honor, courage, and respect for his fellow Americans.
Disagree with that. His honor and respect for fellow Americans, with the clips I showed, disagree with that.
She's not sure what is honorable about Kirk's past statements.
Exactly, and I 100% agree with her sentiment and what she just said there. There's nothing honorable about his past actions and statements. It's not warranted, all this type of hoopla and all these type of celebrations and sparklers and whatnot. Again, people can grieve in their own way. Maybe the wife wanted this and she was associated with it and she wanted to promote this kind of thing. Who knows? It was very performative on her part, not only with the Instagram images. Maybe she didn't even consent to that. Maybe that was a Republican Donald Trump kind of thing where he's like, take pictures of her grieving over the husband, post it on social media. It'll spark rage. It'll spark debate and conversation. Maybe she wasn't even for all this. I don't know. But her tears and the way that she acted going up to stage and the whole ceremony in general was just completely unnecessary, and it's performative. That's all it is. However, I do want to give my condolences to her. Again, she has lost her husband. Her children are grieving. They've lost their father. I do not condone or agree with any of these violent actions from any political party, from any religious group, from any sort of race or ethnicity. And I was very happy and surprised that she even said that she forgave the shooter only a couple weeks later. That is not only a hard thing to do, but even like I said, for me personally, I would not forgive. I would just move on and just know that this person is no longer a part of my life. The person that took away my loved one is what I'm saying. But she did it. And she was even calling for the peace and settlement of both sides until Donald Trump immediately, that jackass, came up right after her and said, I hate my enemies. I want to destroy them. And I completely disagree with Erica Kirk and her statement. I hate my enemies and I want to vanquish them. The dark and the light, we will rise.
She said after Kirk's death,
Charlie was someone who once said, guns save lives. After a school shooting, Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police.
I think he called him a scumbag.
Right, have no regard, downplay slavery and what Black people have gone through in this country.
Right, and then she reposted this clip on Twitter.
Don't be fooled. These people don't give a single shit about Charlie Kirk. They are just using his death to further their Christo-fascist agenda. And before I continue, I need to say that this revisionist history about who Kirk was is just as perplexing. Kirk was a reprehensible human being. He enacted his political agenda by preying upon weak-minded people. He took complex socioeconomic issues and simplified them by pointing fingers at outgroups, demonizing those groups, and then sicking his massive following on them. He was a stochastic terrorist, an adamant transphobe. He denied the genocide happening in Palestine. He believed in the subjugation of women, and with his last dying words, he was spewing racist dog whistles. Charlie Kirk was Dr. Frankenstein, and his monster shot him through the neck. And all of that said, none of us should want to live in a society where these types of killings become the norm.
Two things I want to say about this. One, where's your PPE? And two, why is this the background of the video? Is this because like people get easily distracted and they can't focus on any sort of geopolitical topics without getting distracted so easily? Is that why it's doing this? My only two criticisms, but everything that he said is 100% accurate and I agree with it 1,000,000%. He's not wrong. This is all just weaponization.
There's often little distinction being drawn between those who condemned the assassination of Kirk, but were also critical of things that he said, and those who actually celebrate.
Okay, I have to end the video now. That has been over 3.5 hours of me getting riled up again and irritated because of the stupid shit that I'm seeing online from all sides of the political face and whatnot. I am just so sick and tired of all this shit, and editing this is just gonna be a nightmare for me. Not only, again, is it over 3.5 hours long, I'm gonna have to condense it down, make it digestible, and make it watchable for other people to at least get through it. Because most of the good stuff I'm leaving at the end of the video instead of at the beginning, because I wanted to try to gently move into the criticism, the constructive criticism that I had about Charlie Kirk, and then I ended up getting irritated and angry because of his comments again, his history revisionism, his distortion of reality, and just the lack of acceptance that he does not want to be associated with any sort of racist comments. And most of his outrage and negativity that he pours into the world, he denounces that he's the one involved in it, that he's the one contributing to that kind of stuff. So again, to Erica Kirk, I'm so sorry for your loss and I give my condolences to you directly. I respect what you did at the memorial service where you're denouncing the violence and you're also saying for both sides to kind of calm down and you forgive the shooter. Something that I could not do. If you're willing to do that and you're strong enough to do that, then all the more props to you. And I'm so sorry for the harassment and the bereavement of people in the online social media space. And even if you see me as doing something like that, it is not intentional and it is not meant to hurt you. It is only meant to honor his legacy and the person that he wanted to be remembered as. When you put hatred into the world, that's what you expect back. And that's what he was given. However, for myself, I'm trying to give the biggest amount of respect possible and trying to have a solid conversation of what's happened over time. Also, my condolences again to the children. I'm so sorry that you lost your father, and I don't know how this will affect you growing up in the future, but I do hope that in some light and capacity, as your mother has sought and forgiven the shooter for taking away her husband, I hope that one day you guys can understand as well that the world is a shitty place to live in and we have to make it better by uniting, not segregating or isolating or dividing people. Even if our president of the United States, who's supposed to be an example for our people, leading by example, is leading by hate and destruction, I hope you guys can one day understand and see that this is something to be better than. This is something to fight against, not for. To every other person that's spewing hate speech and you're protected under your First Amendment rights, I disagree with you personally and heavily, and I would not want to support any sort of hateful rhetoric that you put out into the world. To those who are uniting the country and trying to get things back together, whether you are Republican or Democrat, on either side of the spectrum, I am in support of that, and I wish that the best of luck for everyone, that we can try to get over this together and not make this a bigger type of hoopla spectacle with more confetti and fireworks than it already needs to be, or changing any laws to force this to be some sort of national holiday for everyone, when we've not had that sort of respect for any other actual politicians that have been assassinated and killed, or even for George Floyd, not even being a political commentator, just a man with a family. You know, he was a father as well, and people shown disrespect to him and his wife constantly for years on end, making jokes and memes about his passing as well. And because I'm on the topic of George Floyd, the official coroner statement, all right, take two. The official coroner statement from Hennepin County Medical Examiner ruled George Floyd's death as a homicide and listed the primary cause as cardiopulmonary arrest complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. This means his heart and lungs stopped functioning during his restraint by the police. Contributing conditions. The autopsy also listed other significant conditions, but not as a direct result of this death. These factors were arteriosclerotic and hypertensive heart disease, underlying heart disease, fentanyl intoxication, which he was under. People made the claim that he died from fent, and recent methamphetamine use. Again, these are contributing conditions, but these were not the leading factor for his cause of death. That was already proven by the coroner and medical examiners. Okay, anyway, I gotta end the video here. here. I gotta stop looking at stuff. I gotta play video games or something to get my mind off of this, because I am actually shaking a little bit with anger and rage. And also, I have other things to do. I was gonna plan to release this video hopefully today or tomorrow, but because I work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., I'm not gonna have time to probably edit all of this, and I'm gonna do my best to get it out as soon as possible. My other 2 videos were demonetized because of my respects for the family and trying to give a moment of silence to everyone, but because of the amount of hours of research that I put into this, and I do not have sponsors or any sort of large following, if people want to support in any sort of way, I would greatly appreciate it. But I am debating on keeping it demonetized in show of respect and support, and trying to not, you know, profit off of the passing of someone. But also, this is a video of much research and time put into it. People say don't work for free, and this has been research and time gone into this certain subject. So I'm gonna be mentally debating this for a while. We'll see what the final result would be, but again, my condolences. I'm so sorry. This is not the way we should be handling things in the United States of America, and sadly, our leadership and all of his appointees keep trying to inflate this, trying to distract from the Epstein files in any sort of way that they can, and try to enrage more people, trying to incite more violence, trying to rally more people to fight back and to rise an army, and whatever else was said at the memorial service for Charlie Kirk. This is not the way that we should be as human beings. I do not give a shit about political party, ethnicity, race, religious backgrounds, whatever. This is something that as people, it needs to stop, and we need to actually be a more one unison country, because we are the United States of America. We are the defense and the protectors of the world. We need to lead by example, and we are falling back into autocracy and dictatorship under our leaders. And it's sad. This is not something that I want to see for our future, for the next generation to come, the hatred to be spilled over by the younglings, and they want to bring this up again in the future. It's just, this needs to stop. We need to have more education. I think that's what we're lacking in severely right now, is just education. Everyone's so focused on the online media space and trying to become popular celebrities and rich and famous that we're not focusing on the facts and the reports and the examinations of these situations. You know, we have sources, we have citations, and people don't use it. We need to have schools, like the gentleman I was showing earlier, be able to successfully teach the next generation after us, so that they can be more educated and look at the facts rather than being politically involved and have their emotions take over more than their education. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Have a great day. Be safe. Please be kind. Do not spew more hatred to other people. This is not a video meant to attack other people. This is just a conversation to be had and a memorial service in my own way to Charlie Kirk, to remember the person that he was and the ideals that he preached, the behaviors that he spewed into the world. So don't be upset with me. I'm just giving you the facts, and I'm providing you the information to look at yourself. If you find something offensive or something that angers you, then look into the messages of Charlie Kirk, because all I'm doing is providing the video evidence and footage. This is not my typical videos that I do. I usually play video games. I hope to not make any of these videos ever again, but we'll see what happens in the future as things become thrown more into chaos. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.